Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Pwnery's Week in Review. What started off as a lobby chat has turned into an actual topical discussion show, something I said I would never do. But 8 weeks later, here we are. Behold the power of sobriety, I guess. It's just because there's no summer beers I like. Anyway, if you're wondering about this musical intro, it's a guy named Scott Allen. He's a drum and bass DJ, and he mixed Smokey Robinson's Sunny with this awesome intro, and I checked it before I went on air to make sure YouTube's bots wouldn't hit me for copyright. So I think I have found us our show intro music, finally. That'll be more permanent. Anyway, I have panelists here. So this morning we have Scott, we have Tony, and we have Jaime. Good morning, guys.
Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
So, as is usual, I guess let's start off with the personal weeks in review. So, unlike the weeks prior, I will let you guys go first because I know I don't shut up. So I'll let you guys start. Like, go ahead and just jump in. Or not.
Mine was another typical week, except for I went and got my friggin' COVID compliance shit done yesterday. Now I'm sore as hell.
I do have a really cool opening monologue before we do the news that pertains to your week then. So I think you're going to like it. And I actually wrote it in the form of like a stand-up comedy skit too. So bear with me. We'll get everyone's intros in first, then I'll get into the news with that. But how about you, Scott? Anything exciting happened this week?
Not really.
Your rifle came this week or last week?
Last week.
Okay. And then now you've got that cleaning rod thing to sort out, right?
Yeah, I gotta sort that out.
I know Jaime's been playing Susie Homemaker because he's got like his own house essentially, and he's had to outfit it. Perhaps you should tell the lovely people out there listening why you had to outfit it.
I'm gonna have some visitors of a significant someone.
You're going to have your arranged marriage show up.
Arranged. What are you talking about?
Just saying, man. Like, I have to admit, I envy you. Like, I know people in your situation where they're miserable about it, but it seems like in your case, it's very good because, like, you come from a good family, she comes from a good family. Both of y'all are business-oriented families, and it's like Game of Thrones. You know, you're combining houses to build an empire, and I think it's fantastic. Like, I really hope it works out for both of y'all.
Yeah, we would join houses. And I'm also paying for a paint project, so we'll see how about that one goes too. Yeah.
So you have a week to go before D-Day.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, so my week in review is pretty, I guess it would be sort of nondescript as well. I really broke the bank this month, as most of you know, and you've been keeping an eye on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but, I've been building my milsurp wall this year because Kung Flu literally killed SHOT Show. Like, almost nothing really awesome came out this year. And those things that did come out, either my locals can't get, or there's very few models out there that appeal to me. Like, I think this year the only thing that really hit me up was the Keltec P50 and the Colt Anaconda. Sorry, I'm typing this for Smeggy. Yeah, I'd love to have him here, actually. That'd be cool. There you go. So, I did make a few changes to the show, as you can see. I've got a working intro. I've got a working backsplash. I've got the YouTube side chat interactive thing a little more legible and a little more comrade. and I took out the email address in the screen because it was so long and scripted anyway that like nobody could read it. So if you ever want to join the show or the Discord, I left the email address in the description below. Just cut and paste it and send me an email, and I'll send you an invite. I'll send you a one-use permanent invite, so if you can't get to it the day I send it, it's cool because you can just take it whenever, because I can send you a one-time one that never expires. So that's the cool thing there. Um, this is also the home of the Early Watch, which is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and sometimes Fridays when Tony's not at the hospital. But go ahead and maybe tell people what the Early Watch is if they haven't caught it or didn't know that it was back.
God, you mean you think there's people out there that don't know what the hell we are?
Well, yeah, because you got to
Okay.
remember there was that time where the show sort of fell off, and then the channel had to change and go back or whatever. So
Basically, it's me and Jimmy James just sitting around bitching about whatever strikes pretty much my fancy, but sometimes Jimmy gets an opinion too.
sure.
Kind of Second Amendment centered and even more so First Amendment centered. And that's about it in a nutshell. There ain't
I'd go a little
any
farther
real
than that.
specific format.
I'd go a little farther than that. It's two guys exercising their First Amendment, talking about issues related to the Second Amendment, protected by the Fifth Amendment, and not allowing the alphabets to come and raid you by the Fourth Amendment. So anyway, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, generally 9 a.m. to about 10 to 10:30 Central Standard Time. You can catch them either here if you want to hear them live on YouTube. You can see them in their own personal channel called The Early Watch here on the Discord, but I kept it locked for just those involved, so that way people don't just jump in and do what I like to call the Frankie effect, where they just burst in and go, "Hey, how's everyone doing?" while we're in the middle of a show. Anyway.
Well, and on the Discord side, you can't hear any of the add-ins either.
Correct. So if you are a panelist, much like my panel here, they didn't get to hear the musical intro. So show prep is a little bit different than, say, Google Hangouts or StreamYard, how that would work. But in a way, it spares your panelists a lot of sound effects and things that really they don't have to hear anyway. You know, it's just the host being goofy or, just enhancing the show or whatnot. Um, I am part of the Discord beta test team, however, and I have requested a toggleable. Try to say that really loud or fast. I've asked them to send in a toggleable setting where your audience can hear, or sorry, your panel can hear whatever the host is doing. So it'll be like your choice if you want them to or not. If you guys hear the dogs barking, I apologize. Apparently, my old man just got out of bed because he's Captain Sundown and he gets up at like 10 o'clock now.
Hang on, mine are raising hell.
Those dogs. I thought, I raised schnauzers for like almost 30 years, and the most I've ever had at one time was 2. But I thought it would be cool because after my last 2 schnauzers had passed, and I had put them down, me personally, I won't let a stranger do it. Like, I'll go to the vet's office, but they have to hand me the pink stuff, and I have to give it to the dog myself because I'm not gonna. Number one, I'm not gonna force the vet to do it because they got a hard enough job, and it's one of the highest suicide-rated professions in America. So I don't want to put them through it, and because I brought the dogs into the world, I think that it's only fitting that I send them to their next one. So. Afterwards, my mom was really distraught, so I got her the dog she's always asked for in life. I got her some Yorkshire Terriers. I got her one. I got myself one. When a man and a woman love each other very much, you end up with puppies. So, 12 puppies later, I've got 6, and I've sold 7. I think 7. And yeah, having 6 dogs in your house is an exercise in futility and a challenge to your sanity, especially when it comes to like keeping your house clean and potty training and noise control and food intake and going to the grocery store and buying damn bags of dog food every 10 days. Yeah, that sucks. But anyway, enough of my problems. I wanted to talk to you about my week in review. So I have filled my wall so far with 8 milsurps of my selection and choosing, and next week I will have a rack to put 4 more rifles on the wall, and it appears to slowly be turning into either the Mauser rack or it may be the um, the Enfield rack. I haven't decided yet, but eventually I'm going to have 4 racks, and one will absolutely have just Enfields on it because it's one of my. Ian beat me to French rifles. May beat me to Swiss rifles, so I guess I'll do British ones. And the chap has a Fruworth carbine that I would kill for, but he can't send it here, and I can't find one locally. So if you know where there's a Fruworth carbine for sale, email me at the link below, and maybe I'll hook you up with a finder's fee or something, because I'd really like to have one. But since I couldn't find one, I bought a really sweet rifle. I bought, it's a Type 45 66 Siamese Mauser. So the Type 45, first of all, the Kingdom of Siam is now known as Thailand, so we'll start with that. Type 45 was Siam's adopted military rifle in 1903, and what they did is they liked the Mannlicher M95, I believe it was, and they liked the Mauser action. So they sort of asked Mauser, can you make us your export Mauser in the Mannlicher cartridge? Because they had already bought Mannlichers for their military prior, and they wanted to upgrade. And Mauser had so many military contracts out that they couldn't afford the time, space, or materials to do it. So they ended up contracting Kokura Arsenal in Tokyo, Japan, to do it for them. So you have a Thai army asking a German company to design a rifle with an Austrian cartridge and had it contract built in Japan. And it sounds like a recipe for disaster, but it worked out beautifully. The rifles came out in decent condition, good quality, and they underwent changes throughout the years from the Type 45 to the 46, and then from the 46 to the Type 66, which was an upgrade to a Spitzer cartridge. Problem is all 3 of them are very hard to get ammo for because 8x50 Mannlicher is by itself hard to find. 8x50 Siamese is damn near impossible to find and quite expensive. You can substitute the Mannlicher around, just drop it in the chamber and off you go though, which is cool. But the 8x52 Type 66 ammo, you're sort of up shit creek. So what I've discovered is people are reforming 4570 brass or 762x39 brass, or sorry, 762x54 brass for the rim. This is the only fully rimmed Mauser I am aware of so far. Like fully rimmed, like not a semi-rim. But I did pick up one. It is a 4566, and I'm going to do a This Old Gat video later on how to identify what you have. And I've translated like the Siamese Moonspeak on the rifle, and how to do the ammo for it, and how to take apart the bolt, because I had to gunsmith my safety. I had to put a towel around the safety lever and then use a wrench to get the leverage to just flip it over to start the safety because it wouldn't cam in. And apparently this was a really well-known issue for even K98 Mausers. And so I ended up having to learn how to take the bolt apart. I had to learn how to, I had to learn how to take the bolt apart because what was funny is I had to use a second rifle to take apart this rifle's bolt. And what's really peculiar is the other rifle has this thing built into it that it doesn't even need. but they did it anyway. So, like, I've got amalgams fixing amalgams. It's the strangest thing, but when you see the video, it'll all make sense to you. So I took the safety lever off, and then I had to take a jeweler's file and reprofile it. And I've got it better, but I took off so little that I have to do it again. Like, I didn't want to overshoot it, so I did it a little bit, put it back on. It's a little easier to work now, but it still needs a little bit more taken off. It's just, you can't, if you overdo it, you can't put it back, so I'd rather creep up on it. So that's where I'm at with that. But yeah, I got that. I picked it up Thursday, I think, and I'm about to murder a bunch of dogs. But yeah, I picked that up. It's in really good shape for a 118-year-old rifle. I ran the serial numbers, and this is a first-year production type RS-121 type 45, which is cool. It may have been re-blued. I can't really tell, but it's so nicely done that I don't care. And the stock's really nicely done, so I don't care. And it's got no bench vise teeth marks into the wood like you see on a lot of milsurps, either for duffel cuts or whatever. It doesn't have any of that. And it was very stuck, like very stuck. This thing was pickled and preserved like it was supposed to survive millennia. So for my This Old Gat for that video, it's going to be a inspection and how to loosen up a pickled milsurp, because the magazine floor plate release was like set in concrete, as was the safety, as was the trigger, as was the leaf sight, as was the sliding dust cover and front swing swivel. So, sling swivel, rather. So yeah, it's going to be one of those. Basically, Croyle is my new best friend, and I love the smell of it, so it worked out pretty good. That was my week in review. Very long-winded, I know.
You say that it was a recipe for disaster, but it strikes me as a prelude to a couple of wars.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I guess I'll elaborate. I'm going to put this in the video, too, because I know not all of y'all are going to watch it, but... So, the Siamese Mauser is essentially a K98, but it's built as the export Mauser design. So the bolt and the receiver are just like a K98. It's chambered in that it was originally chambered in the 8x50, and then it was rechambered in 8x52. They just reamed it a little bit. It uses a standard 313 bullet, so I can use the same bullets that I use for my 303 British, or if I had the older Gewehr 88 Mauser with the JRS round, I could use the 313 Mauser bullets. But the only Mausers I have are JR or JS Mausers, which is like a Car 98, the 323 bullet. So what's funny is this rifle has the bolt that requires that metal disc that's embedded into the stock of a K98, so you can push the firing pin through to decock it basically and take it apart. Well, the Type 45 doesn't have that ferrule, which I thought was kind of weird. It's like, okay, you gave it a bolt that needs it, and you didn't put the thing to help take it apart on your rifle. Probably because you didn't want your Siamese army to take their guns apart in the jungle. Okay, I guess that makes sort of sense, but it's a pain in the ass for collectors like us. So I had to take my Turkish 880535, which in itself is an amalgam. It's a Turkish adopted German rifle upgraded by the Turks. So it's an 88 from the magazine back, but it's a K98K from the bolt forward. So that's another amalgam. But it has the ferrule on the back of the stock. And it doesn't even need it because it uses a Gewehr 88 bolt. So you don't take it apart the same way. So it's like the rifle that needs it doesn't have it. The rifle that has it doesn't need it. And I had to combine the two like Wonder Twins unite just to get the bolt apart. But it worked. It worked out great. So if you want to work on a Siamese Mauser, buy a Turkish Mauser or a K98. Then you can work on your Siamese. I know that sounds stupid and wasteful, but whatever. My next rifle that I'm sort of watching right now. Yeah. So Scott found me a K11, and I want it. I also want the 31. I also am in a bidding war for a Sturmgewehr 57, which that's the one everyone wants, right? But I found a 9611, which is becoming harder and harder to find for short money. And so I think I'm going to have to put the 9611 ahead of the K11. So this payday, 9611. September, if it's still there, then I will go ahead and get the K11 also. You're correct. Any excuse to buy more guns is cool. Any excuse for me to hang more guns on my naked walls is even better. I've got space for one more rack right on top of my computer, like right above it. So I'll probably do that. I'll put 4 more right in front of me. And then that's really it. Like after that, the rest go in the cabinets and safes. Oh, I lost Tony. He had to go.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, that's been my week. Let me go ahead and say my good mornings and shout outs to the YouTube side chat. So good morning, Smeggy. Good morning, John Z. I will get your email and your link out to you as soon as I have a chance to minimize all this stuff on my desktop. You'll have an invite before the end of the day for sure. So, other than milsurps, I'm kind of planning for Christmas because Black Friday is when all the real big gun sales go on. Actually, wait, before I start that, if you are in need of a belt or an inside or outside the waistband holster or a shoulder rig, VersaCarry has a sale going on. And if you want to get any of those things, you can use the code BLEM50, BLEM50. Regardless of its blemish or not, the code works. So I was talking about it for 2 years, and I had recommended it to other people, like Patrick bought one, and I got my VersaCarry shoulder rig yesterday. They shipped it, like I placed the order, and it was shipped and at my door in less than 48 hours. So right now, processing time is very quick. Use the code BLEM50, add something to cart, try the code. If it works, you get 50% off. I got a $200 shoulder rig for 99 bucks. And it's awesome. And it's got my 4006 TSW in it now, with magazines out the wazoo crammed into the. It's the shoulder rig for full-size pistol. On the left side and on the right side, it's got the double mag pouch, and I had to adjust it out quite a bit, but it's comfortable, and I can't wait for winter when I put my coat over it because you won't be able to see it. But yeah, it's nice. I bought one of those shoulder rigs for a Tokarev one time out of Russia, and it's very minimalist and thin, but it's incredibly functional and very comfortable. And the VersaCarry one is like that design times 10 in terms of thickness and just durability and reliability. So there are going to be a few days where I carry the Tokarev to work. There's going to be a lot of days when I carry the 4006. I was originally going to use that shoulder rig for my Steyr mouthful, the M9A2 MF, but I forgot that I only have 2 mags for it. I thought I bought extras, but I don't. So I only got the 2 mags, and I got a double mag pouch. So I thought, okay, I guess the 4006 is going to go in there. I could put the 5906 in there too if I wanted to, but I like the problem solver. So that'll be my winter carry this year, I think. Usually I carry the Casull, but they don't make. I keep asking them to do it. Maybe they will eventually. But yeah, I'm gonna eventually see if VersaCarry will make me a revolver shoulder rig, because I want to put the Alaskan in it, because I like my Alaskan, and that was my go-to winter carry for 6 or 7 years. And before anybody asks, is 454 Casull overkill? Bear in mind, assholes come in all sizes, and 454 doesn't care how many layers of clothing you wear. Winter carry. Big winter coat, buckles and zippers or whatever. 454 doesn't give a shit about any of that. So, yeah, that's why I do it. But not this year. 40 TSW, 4006 TSW, California Highway Patrol turn-in. That's going to be my winter carry. Sweet pistol. And I have to tell you guys, if you haven't bought one yet, you sort of missed the bus. I got mine for $300.
Yeah, they did.
$300, and it's almost mint. Nowadays, the ones where the laser engraving is slightly worn and the pebble Hogue grips are worn flat, they're like $700 now. So like, unless you really want it, you kind of miss the bus on it. But keep an eye out, because if you find one for like $350, go for it. They're great pistols. 3rd gen Smith & Wesson semi-autos are fantastic. And disabling the mag disconnect safety is super easy. I've done it to all my 3rd gens except the 40. Actually, no, I did do the 4006.
Yeah, you did.
I did the 4006. No, sorry. The 4006 is the one I didn't do it to. I did it to the 5906, and I did it to my 3903 Ladysmith because I changed the rear sights on them. When I put LPA rear sights on them, that's when you can set up the mag disconnect and disable it, which is super easy. That's winter carry. That's this shoulder rig. Versacarry.com. Try the code BLEM50, BLEM50. Like, add it to cart, and then before you finalize your checkout, just try that code to see if it works. Because it worked for me, and they didn't complain.
No, they're actually advertising that deal now.
Right, but the thing is when you go through their inventory on the website, each item, if it's a blemish item on sale, they'll have a little red caret next to it saying that this is part of the blems, right? I went to the shoulder rig, that wasn't there, and I added it, and then I put the code in during checkout, and it still took.
No, they're advertising that code now on like Facebook ads.
Yeah.
Works with everything.
Oh, they're saying it works for everything.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, 50% off right now. Like,
They
get
do
yourself
make
some leather.
good belts.
Yes.
I've got a couple.
I've got 6. I don't have any other belts anymore. Like, I wear them every day whether I'm carrying or not. Because they're just thick. They use bull shoulder leather, which is the thickest and stiffest leather you can get. It's it's the same thickness as the Magpul El Burro or whatever they call it. They got that one. It's the same thing. Like, it's literally the same thing in terms of rigidity. But yeah, if you were on the fence about leather or holsters or shoulder rigs, now is the time, brother. Now's the time. Go get one because it's only half off. And if you get like the Commander holster they have different models of Commander. The ones I keep buying are the Commander 2018 model. They're only like $20. You can't go wrong. You can hold any size pistol. They give size 1, 2, and 3. So like full size, compact, and subcompact, right? And they have a guide. So like just go through and find your gun on the list. Hang on. Wrong pipe. Anyway, it holds the gun and it has a mag holder built into the front of the holster. So you have a loaded mag in your gun, and then just ahead of it, there's a slot for another magazine. They're like $20.
Yeah, I hold them.
And I've got like 20 of those. But yeah, like
so
those combined with their
you're
belt.
one of their best customers.
I've become one, yes. Like I praise the work. Like I'm not what you would call brand loyal, but when I start looking for holsters, that's the first place I go anyway. I don't really do Kydex, and I know that I'm going to catch some shit for that. I just don't like the scratchiness and the crunchiness of it. I do have one, though. Like, I have one for my Walther Q5 Steel Frame Match Pro Mouthful, because it was the only holster I can get for it at the time. I got an IWI Kydex paddle holster or whatever. And it required some fitment because it was originally for just a standard PPQ. But it works. I just don't prefer it. It works, though. Actually, I should try to put the Walther in that shoulder rig. That'd be cool. So, where was I going before that? Oh, things that I wanted to build for Christmas, right? So, I think I'm gonna build. Well, let me preface this. Last year, I built an AR10, and it was the first one, and I did it as a joke, sort of. I did want it, but I did it more as a experimented curiosity. Can I build an AR10 and get it right the first time where it doesn't pierce primers like Patrick's? Yes, you can. So I built one before Kung Flu really went crazy. Uh, I built it with a rigid skeleton stock, so it's non-telescoping, pretty rigid. It uses a rifle length buffer and spring, and I used an Arrow M5 lower that I really liked. It was the first time I used the M5, and I love it because no roll pins. Everything's bolted in, which is nice. So it actually works out pretty good. And then I custom built my upper. I used an M5 receiver, but I used a Lilja 24-inch. They call it the M2 heavy profile. So like the first third of the barrel is about as thick as an M2 HB barrel. And then it steps down to what you would consider a bull barrel, and it steps down a third time to a straight cut fluted barrel with a target crown. So there's no muzzle device on the end of it. But this thing's huge. The upper's 24 inches long, or the barrel's 24 inches long rather. And then I stuck I think it was a Vortex Sonora on top of it. So that's a 1x6, I think, or 2x12 or something like that. I can't see the box from here, but yeah, I put the Sonora on there, and it's proportionally correct to the gun. I went nuts with it, and now I want to build another one because now I've got the long range reach out and touch someone version, and I want to build like a kick down your door FUCQB version. So my plan is before they're banned. Right now, Primary Arms has a sale on Polymer 80 308 lowers with the jig and all that stuff, and I think they're like $95. So Monday, I'm going to order one, and then I'll try my hand at a polymer lower, which I've never done before, but I'm not afraid to try it. And, you know, if it lasts like 5,000 rounds and then breaks where the buffer tube attaches, which is common, I would say I got my money's worth out of it. And in the meantime, I can wait for Arrow to bring more M5 lowers back onto the market because they're kind of back ordered right now. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm thinking I'm going to use the SB PDW brace for it because I have one on my 7.5-inch Dookie pistol, my AR Dookie pistol. And my coworker George likes those. So what was funny was I built him pretty much the same gun in black. And then he asked me to build him another one in FDE. So I did. And when I finished it and I delivered it to him, he held it, he took one look at it, and he goes, "Awesome, thanks. Here you go." And he hands it to me. And I'm like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Merry Christmas." I was like, "That's cool." So I built the rifle for him, and then he gave it to me. So that's got the SB PDW brace on it. But yeah, I want to do that brace, Polymer 80 lower, and then I think I'm going to go with I talked to Flippy about this too, and I think the general consensus is if you're going to build an AR-10 that's short, you should really not go shorter than 10 or 12 and a half. So I'm going to go with the 12.5-inch Moriarty upper, which is going to hurt because that upper used to be $300. Now it's almost 600, and it doesn't come with the bolt carrier group or charging handle. I'm like, ow. So I'm hoping by Christmas, if things settle down, it'll get a little cheaper again. But if it doesn't, you just use my Christmas bonus towards it. It's not a big deal. But it's got a really cool, like, pepper pot style break that's halfway into the handguard. And it's got a pretty nice minimalist handguard. So the goal is I want to build a short AR-10, weighs 8 pounds or less, with a 20 round steel mag in it. And then I'm probably going to indulge and splurge, and I'm going to throw an Elcan Spectre DR on top of it. It's a 1x4 variable. Because I just like the way they look. And I think it would complete the look on this rifle. And then I'll just, get one of those remote ticker tape switches for a light, put the light on it, and an AFG, and call it a day. Now, here's where things get interesting. I looked up the Stark Express Foregrip, angled foregrip. If you look carefully at it, it is angled. It's 45 degrees or maybe even sharper. And it says that it is for pistol use. And I have one on my 50 Beowulf. I think I'm going to get a second one for the 308. Because what's kind of funny is even though it's an angled foregrip, you can grab it at its angle. They dovetailed and rolled the radius behind it. You could stick the web of your hand in there and grab the angled part at the bottom almost like a Thompson. Almost. But I'll probably run that up front. It's big, it's chunky, but it's polymer, so it's not heavy. And then I'll probably use my go-to, just because it's a thumper of a gun. I like the Scorpion ATI X2, I think it's called, grip. It's a two-piece grip. The front half is really hard textured plastic, but the back half, it's got like, if you were ever into GTs or BMXs back in the day, it has mushroom style grips for the back half, where it's got those real fine silicone slots, horizontal slots, that squish in your hand. So I'll probably run that as a grip in the back. But yeah, I think that's what I want to do for my Christmas build. I wanted to build I build theme rifles, and I was planning on building a PTRS or PTRD, I can't remember. I think it's PTRD-41, which is a Russian World War II anti-tank rifle. I wanted to build a 24-inch AR-15 in 350 Legend and use the Strike Industries cookie cutter break milled out to accept a 350 bullet on the end of it, so it would look like the tank break on a PTRD-41. And then I was going to use Boyd stocks to give it the wood.
They make the cookie cutter in 308.
I know, I got one, but I have to mill it out to 370.
Oh, okay.
The center. It's slightly bigger, but it still needs to be bigger yet because the bullet on a 350 Legends 352, 354, something like that. Mm-hmm. So if I go 370, I've got leeway because that's the compensator part anyway. So the gases are going to push to either side of it either way, but you can oversize that hole just slightly just to be on the safe side, and it should perform just fine. I got the brake. Jaime actually sent it to me one year, and I haven't installed it yet. But that's going to go on one of those. That was originally what I was going to build until I got this wild hair up my ass about a 12-inch AR10. Because, F you, door kicker. Bam! Clear the corner and give him 308 goodness. That's what I'm going to build. I thought I was done with ARs, but I'm not. I'm so not.
So you're going to clone the Pof Renegade.
Is that what it's called? Let me look.
They make a shorty, yes.
Oh, I want my idea of a shorty, but yeah, more or less. I see it here. Sort of. Like, it's going to use the SBPDW. For sure. Like this one, the one I'm looking at, they use an SPA3, which isn't bad, but I like that PDW just for this particular build, because I'm going for a certain look, just like I did with my long AR10. Somebody asked me, they're like, why didn't you put a collapsible stock on this? And I'm like, maximum comfort, because that skeleton stock, the whole top tube has got this big thick neoprene foam pipe cover on it, and it sits on my cheek perfectly when I'm aiming down the scope, and it's very comfortable. Now granted, I took the gun, I put a sling on it, and I put the sling over my right arm and held that rifle at the hip. And then I brought it out and showed my old man, and he goes, Jesus Christ, that's as big as an M60. And then I said, yeah, guess what? It weighs almost as much as an empty one. And I took it off and handed it to him. That thing weighs like 15, 16 pounds. It's a beast. But I didn't build it for portability. I built it for setup Overwatch, Like it's got a chunky Atlas 2 bipod, and it's got a big, cantilever scope mount with a pretty good scope on it. And I like steel mags on my AR10s. I like steel mags, period, but that gun looks perfect with the steel mag. And then I got the Luth AR, I think it's called the Chubby grip, which actually looks a lot like the grip from an H&K PSG-1 sniper rifle. And that's the look I was going for. So, yeah, it turned out nice. I really liked it. Like, I'm really happy that I built it, but I want a short one now, for sure.
Then I'm about to post something in the Guns and Ammo's deals for you then.
I'll check it out later. I can't click back and forth, otherwise it'll screw up the screen. Oh, wait, I'll just check it on my phone. Never mind. Duh. I forgot I can do that. I can do that.
Because apparently AIM Surplus is having a big sale.
Oh, I probably got the email on this.
Yeah, but I'm actually going through and picking shit out.
Oh, yeah. Ergo makes that same grip, right. It's just like that one. It's similar to that one. All right, so let's start with, let's see, we're 41 minutes in. So yeah, let's start with the news. Damn it, Tony's not here. I had this joke all set up for him too. Like I set this up like a, well, I set this up like a Jay Leno or Late Night with Jay Leno type monologue. So let me roll into this and then we'll start the news. The White House, yet again, is demanding national mask mandates and mandatory mask mandates for Congress, at least on the House side. Capitol Police have expressed their desire not to enforce Speaker Pelosi's new demands for, quote, arresting those who do not comply, while she continues to pull her mask off for photo ops. Washington has declared war on those who do not wear the mask or forcibly take the experimental vaccines. What a strange coincidence that they're trying to push a former ATF mass murderer in David Chipman while declaring war on us, the Branch Covidians, who continue to hold out and tell DC to go fuck itself. I guess the real reason people continue to demand Chipman's ouster is because it would just be a matter of time before he proposes rolling in tanks and standing over the smoldering bodies of the rest of America for photo ops. We are the Branch Covidians. We don't wear the masks. We don't take your experimental vaccines, especially us that are younger and healthier. So I had my mom and dad take them because my dad's 86 and my mom's 70. And, that gave me peace of mind. I had them go take the Johnson & Johnson one-time one. But I'm a healthy dude, more or less. So it's like, if I haven't gotten it by now, I'm not getting it. But anyway, I was talking to a friend and, like, we were watching this thing on Waco, and when I heard Branch Davidians, I also heard someone say the word COVID, and I put the two together, and I thought, that's now a thing. So, if you don't wear a mask, and you don't want to do their vaccines or whatever, and you don't think the government should tell you what to do, welcome to my cult, the Branch Covidians. You are now one of us. So, let us start with the news, shall we? I've been trying really hard not to clear my throat on camera because I play these back every once in a while. I hear it, but I can't get the sleep out of the sleep of phlegm out of my body in the morning. So, first story we got today. I'll put it up here. Boop. There we go. Mitch McConnell is calling on the White House, namely Biden, to withdraw David Chipman's nomination to head the ATF. There's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, very anti-2A. Number two, and the one that's very seldomly discussed, This dude is racist as F. He was the head of, I think it was an ATF division in, it was either Michigan or Minnesota or something like that. And he was talking all sorts of racial crap about his fellow ATF officers. And they have several of the people from his division corroborate this. So it's like, the DNC is known for their number one rule of always preemptively accuse the other side for which you are guilty of first. So if they call you a racist, it's because they're racist. If they call you a homophobe, it's because they're a homophobe. If they're trying to chase you down for Russian collusion, it's because Joe Biden's son is selling influence to the Russians and the Ukrainians. I mean, the story writes itself. And this asshole is just as guilty of everything he's being accused of. And they're trying to deflect or not talk about it. So anyway, I think the Grim Reaper of the ATF, this guy, his days are numbered. He's not getting this nod. As a matter of fact, I don't think it was McConnell directly, but Congress has threatened the White House and said that they will begin a formal inquiry if they continue to persist trying to push this nomination through. Because this guy's the least qualified. The chair that Clint Eastwood was standing next to at the RNC convention elections past is more qualified than this guy. Like, this Elroy Jetson reject looking motherfucker needs to go. Anyway. Any comments about this one, or can we move on to the next one? Because I can't stand the look of this guy. Nothing?
Well, Guns and Gadgets literally just posted a new video on
this?
Chipman.
Yeah. Like, this dude's just got to go. He screwed up the day he took that photo at Mount Carmel. That was the beginning of his end right there. Like, that's not something you brag about. That's not something you hang on your wall. But that is something that continues to come back.
Whose bright idea was it to nominate somebody who blatantly lies and manipulates information? Oh, wait. What's the government we're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, why do you want to put a guy in charge of the very division that is supposed to regulate, quote, assault rifles if he can't even tell you what one is?
Oh, he could tell you what one is. He wouldn't tell Congress what one was because they would vote against his ass.
Well, of course, because if he actually uses the literal definition, then the follow-up question would be like, so then how is this an assault rifle if it doesn't have full auto fire?
Now, I was kind of shocked that they actually got him to admit that he wants to ban anything over a .22 caliber. That's semi-automatic that takes a detachable box magazine.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Was that him?
Yeah, that was him.
Okay, because, Joe Biden followed that up, was it last Wednesday? Not this week's Wednesday, the one before. At his town hall meeting, he had literally said that he wants to ban every semi-automatic, including 9mm. And it was just like, oh.
No, Chipman admitted he wanted to ban anything over a .22 caliber that was semi-automatic.
I gotcha. So yeah, like, they don't even try to hide it anymore. Have you noticed that? They don't even hide it anymore. They don't hide the fact that they're trying to erase your history. They don't hide the fact that they're accusing one side of an insurrection while they're burning cities and ruining lives all across this country.
Literally causing billions in damage.
Yes. And they're engaged in actual criminal activities like, I don't know, arson, criminal trespass, felony seizure, real laws are actually being broken, but whatever, Well,
the biggest thing is, if he had nothing to hide, why does he not release his personal record?
It'll come out. He's not going to make it.
It's going to come out, but if he had nothing to hide, why wouldn't you release it?
Well, the thing I'm worried about is they keep making this push to get him out. Don't nominate him. Don't push this nomination through. We will do an official inquiry of why you continue to hammer this guy in even though nobody wants him. Stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
nobody has asked the question, if he doesn't get through, who's next?
They don't have anybody. That's why they keep pushing it.
Well, we keep pushing to withdraw him. Who do we want next? Because the fact of the matter is if our side was in charge, we would just say, listen, ATF, we're dissolving you. Because everything you do can be handled by the FBI or the Bureau of Weights and Measures. You are redundant, overbloated, overreaching, and out of here. That's what we would do.
Considering the crap I've seen coming out of the FBI lately, they're not much better.
Right, but you see what I'm saying though, like, alcohol, tobacco, and tobacco can be covered by the Bureau of Weights and Measures. Next time you go fill your tank at the gas station and thanking Joe Biden for the prices you're paying, look carefully at the pumps. Look carefully at the official inspection seals on the pumps, and it will be the official seal of the Bureau of Weights and Measures. They could do that with alcohol. They could do that with tobacco. Now, firearms and explosives? Fine, FBI, because that's who they used to do it. That's who does your NICS background check. So they can do this too, especially if they're trying to rebuild their reputation. Anyway, there's that. Let me see. What's next? Actually, Scott, I need you to carry the show for a few minutes because I have to go grab something outside. The mailman just came by. Give me just a sec, okay? Like, share something if you can, but I'll be right back.
Of course, he has to duck out right as I'm trying to cook breakfast. So I don't know what else he's got on the menu for today, but fuck. That sucked. Now, if you didn't hear that, that was the sound of a egg hitting the floor. So that was not good. So I ordered a new cleaning rod for my Gewehr 8805. And I just got it yesterday, and I think it was a reproduction. And of course, it's the wrong diameter. So I may end up having to drill out my cap on my rifle so it can fit in there. But whatever, that's not a big deal. So I have noticed PSA has had some good deals going lately. If anybody's looking for EOTechs, I think they still have the deal going on. They had EOTech 512s for like $375 with a discount code. Or $425. No, I think it was under $400. I think it might have been like $375, yeah. That is a really good deal. Because I've seen some used ones. Ironically, the guy that me and Sean got our 4006s from had used ones for like, I think $299, but they were kind of beat. You could tell they were definitely surplus law enforcement or military ones. And no warranty, of course. He had to duck out right as I was making a 4-egg omelet. Bastard. So I don't quite know where Dano is to answer John Z's question, because I did see that earlier. I figured Sean would have addressed it, but I don't know where Dano is. He don't come around here no more. He must have found new friends. Let's see what else the chat has to say. Oh yeah, Blade Tech from ICZ. Yeah, those are decent holsters, Schmeggy. I know Dano's still alive because he occasionally is putting out new drink videos.
All right. So, I had to help the mailman bring in my grooming table for the dogs. So I don't know how long you were quiet, but you know the FCC.
I was talking.
Okay, because I was gonna say the FCC fines if you have more than I think it's 7 seconds of dead air. Anyway, next story. Let's move on because I feel like today's going to be slightly abbreviated. I just had a bunch of crap drop in my lap. Oregon is in the news positively. The way I subtitled this was Oregon says no. But basically, the Oregon County's judges are banding together and they are rejecting any and all Second Amendment sanctuary city challenges, which is awesome. So Gavin's right. They are a red state being held ransom by a blue city.
Kind of like New York State.
Kind of like every blue state that's registered as a blue state, actually.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me a map, county by county, and it was titled, "There are no such thing as red states." Or sorry, there is no such thing as blue states. Only blue cities holding red states hostage. And they were right. 95% of America is a red county. 5% blue. 5% blue cities where the Great Society began, where they stopped spreading people out and started stacking them up like cordwood, high rises, population centers, apartment complexes, what do you call them? Project homes, those kinds of things. Mega city ones, basically. Every single one of them are that way. Every single stacked city is blue. Every single state they're in is red. But because they're the population center, they hold the rest of the state hostage. Nevada's a good example. New York is a good example. I think you were saying Massachusetts is a pretty good example, right?
Yeah, Boston. The whole Boston area controls the state, and that's a tiny portion of the state.
Right. So, yeah, that's the thing. But it's cool, you've got a state that's basically saying no. They're striking down the desires of the blue city for the majority of the red state. And I get it. I mean, if you have a state where there's only 11 people and 10 of them in one spot and one takes up all the rest of the spot, proportionally, okay, they outnumber you. But it's still not geographically sensitive to the needs of the area. What if you banned rifles in Wyoming, where there's only like 400,000 people, because one city turned blue, and you got a guy out in the middle of nowhere having to fend off against coyotes and mountain lions and whatever, right? That ban is going to get him killed. So kudos to Oregon for stepping up, Columbia County for stepping up.
Well, here's a better idea. Because the pandemic, people are fleeing the cities, which means their cities' populations are decreasing significantly.
Well, they're fleeing the cities because of bad laws.
Bad laws, over-taxation, number of different reasons.
Yeah. Poor representation, bad laws, high taxes, high crime.
What's that do to that
low employment,
liberal voting bloc?
It moves it into states that weren't liberal, though. That's the problem.
No. You're missing the point. It's spreading it out, therefore decreasing their voting power.
Oh, you're saying you're diluting it.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. See, the thing is, though, in like Texas, we have this don't California my Texas? Because they're all moving to Austin. They're all moving to the capital of Texas, and the capital of Texas has a blue mayor. So they're sort of doing like it's the same. It's a similar situation to like immigration, right? Legal immigration. Let me preface this. Every major city has a Chinatown. Fact. Houston has a Chinatown. It has a Vietnamese area. It has a Korean area. It has a Hispanic area. It has what they call the International District, which is a lot of South American countries that's intermingled with Chinatown, of all things. But if you look at why these population centers form like that in the first place, it's not. It's a positive and a negative. So let's say, like, I'll use my mom, for example. Okay. Let's say she just came to the United States. She just became a citizen and she speaks very little English, but she can read it and write it as long as she takes her time. She comes to Texas. She goes to Houston. She goes, oh, look, there's a part of Houston where a lot of my people live. She will go move there to be, quote, amongst her people, so it'll be easier for her to communicate with people who speak her language and write it. I get that. That is a positive benefit. The problem with that is it becomes apolitical. So, like, look at Minnesota. Look at Ilhan Omar's district. Look at the population breakdown of Ilhan Omar's district. It is full of refugees. The refugee program did the same thing that the immigration thing sort of does. They decided to move people into a center of like-speaking people so they would feel less alienated amongst a new country. So the intent was good, but the political ramifications are terrible. And what you're saying is, hey, if California people are moving out, it's watering down the California vote, sure. But the problem is they're all moving to the same places where they're going, and they're creating population centers in, like, my capital. And because there's an influx of liberalism going to Austin, they're voting in their own people that have moved over there and putting them in power. Imagine this. Imagine Jeff Bezos is California, okay? And he walks into Walmart, which is Texas, and he walks straight into the CEO's office, and he tips the chair over, and he sits down in the CEO's chair, and he goes, yeah, this is mine now. I'm going to tell you what to do. I don't care how you ran your business. I don't care who works for you. You're doing it my way now. That's what's happening in Texas. That's why the Don't California My Texas thing became a thing, because people were doing that. People did that in the refugee program in Minnesota. People did that in the refugee program in where's Rashida Tlaib from, or where she
Minnesota.
represents. It's the same situation.
Yeah.
So, like, putting people together that speak the same language, I'm not against that. I'm not. I think it's good that you have some familiarity, because when you move to another country, you're an alien in a different world. So having some familiar faces or sounds or names, that's fine. That's totally fine. My concern is only when it becomes political. That's when it becomes dangerous. But anyway, Oregon, good on you. Keep fighting the fight. Maybe flip those. Your Portland's freaking mayor's got to go. Like, let's just start with that.
Ted Wheeler is gonna go. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys in California, Larry Elder, don't forget that name when the recall election comes up. I know how your ballot's going to work. It's a two-part ballot. It's the question, A, should Gavin Newsom be recalled? And the only choices you have are yes and no. Question 2 is, write in the name of the person you would like to replace him. Larry Elder. End of story. You will solve your problems starting at that point right there. So, 2 down, 4 to go. Okay, so I'm going to read the story I wrote, or the monologue I wrote for this story, and then I'll share you the story. You guys remember Remington? You know, that company that went bankrupt not that long ago and was about to disappear off the face of the earth? Yeah, those guys. Yeah. They're paying out $33 million. A bankrupted company that just got saved by another company who's about to morally and financially bankrupt themselves by paying out $33 million to the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting. In other news, Ford is declaring bankruptcy tomorrow because they're going to have to start paying out for the victims of drunk driving in NASCAR country due to a bunch of drunk rednecks in their F-150s leaving stadiums. That's the same thing. You're going to blame the tool and not the idiot wielding it. And now you've got Remington willingly capitulating to this and paying out victims for something they had absolutely no part in. They made the tool. They did not make the shooter. They did not make the intent of the shooter. They didn't even market their firearm for the intent of the shooter. They are completely immune to this, and yet they're paying out $33 million for nothing.
If the bankruptcy judge approves.
But still, I'm not mad at Remington. I'm mad at what Remington has just done. They have just opened Pandora's fucking box.
Yep.
Because this just set a precedent that every manufacturer of anything is now liable for the actions of somebody misusing their product. Now, somebody will argue, well, the purpose of a gun is to kill things. Maybe. Those types of people look at a firearm as a sword. I happen to look at a firearm as a shield. That's how I got into guns in the first place. A lot of you don't know this. I have been robbed at gunpoint 3 times in my life before my 28th birthday. And I thought, you know what? I have played the odds long enough. And should there ever be a 4th time, I might not be so lucky. And if that day comes and that situation happens, I want to be on equal footing with my attacker. And that's when I became a gun owner. I'm not looking for the fight, but I'm prepared for it if it's coming to me. And I think it's ridiculous that those in power and influence who are, demeaning and attacking the firearms industry, they only look at it as the sword, whereas there are an army of people like me who look at it as the shield. It's the insurance policy. It's the better to have it and not need it than to desperately need it and not have it or be allowed to have it. You don't get to tell me I can't have something like this. You don't get to tell me what to do. I have the Bill of Rights protecting me from this, and yet antis wipe their asses with it like toilet paper and bend it to their will if it fits their narrative. I'm sorry, Remington. Go fuck yourself. Don't pay out a cent. Anyway, that was my rant for that.
Honestly, I'm surprised Matt has not done a go fuck yourself video yet on that one.
Maybe if he watches this, he will.
Yeah, maybe he will.
So, I'm sure many of you probably agree with that sentiment too. Like, I don't feel like I'm the radical saying that. I'm just saying why I got into it and why you can't tell me I can't have it. And as a bonus, I have become a scholar of history because of it. I'm fascinated by the history now. That's why I collect milsurps. I find them fascinating. I find them beautiful as machines. I'm a tinkerer by trade, you know. I'm an electrician. I have a master's degree in psychology, but I didn't pursue it as a career. I did it for my own personal enrichment. I wanted to be a PhD. I did not want to be an MD because I used to have this naive belief that I could solve people's problems without pumping them full of drugs. As I got older and as I began doing my residency over 10 years ago, I had learned a hard lesson that no, there is such things as chemical deficiencies. There are needs for pills and things like that. And it sort of disheartened me from the whole industry and the practice. So I thought, you know what? I heal people. I don't heal body parts. My expertise is healing broken people, and I'm good at it. But I'm still not going to peddle the drugs to do it. And if that prevents me from being a practicing psychiatrist, then I'm just not going to be one. But if you ever need to talk to me, like you guys in the panel, any of you guys that are watching this, if I know you from gun channels or in passing, or even if you're a total stranger, you know, I have talked some of my dear friends off the ledge, one of them twice, and he's still alive today. But if you ever need to talk to somebody, you know, we talk about like soldier suicides, police officer suicides, veterinarians, not veterans, because veteran suicides is soldier suicides. You know, people need people to talk to. So yeah, if you have a problem and you think I could just hear you out, you can email me. That's cool. I'll give you I'll give you audience because that's what I was trained to do. But by practice, I'm a tinkerer. You know, I have tools. I'm not afraid to use them. I enjoy taking things apart and figuring out how they work and putting them back together. I'm pretty good at like Fallout type repairs too. I mean, if you ever hear me at work talk about how my boss won't buy screws or bolts or drill bits or whatever, and I still have to fix the things that break in my shop, man, I got some creative stuff to fix things at work. You know, we have these like huge shipping carts that we have to like, you know, hand truck across the warehouse or whatever. They break constantly, and I've fixed every damn one of them in the last like month with duct tape and pantyhose and 2x4s and whatever I could find. So that's what I'm good at. And looking at these milsurps, like the ones on my wall, they're all fascinating because they all answer the same question in different ways. And I love it. You know, we talked about the Vizcacha in my Penny Arcade series this week. I was covering a game called Arid, the Atacama Experience, which is a survival game in the Atacama Desert in 1931. So technology is limited. And yeah, I find it all fascinating how it all works, guns-wise, because like the Vizcacha, it's guns are sort of an exercise in simultaneous evolution. That's a good way to put it. The Vizcacha is a mix between, if you look at one, it looks like a mix between a chinchilla and a rabbit. But genetically, it's neither one. But it looks like them because it was simultaneously evolving in a different part of the world, answering the same questions on how to deal with a hot and arid environment. Well, firearms exactly the same way. You know, if you look at like the magazine system or the bolt system or the striker system of a Dutch Beaumont versus a Vetterli Vitali versus a Swiss 89 straight pull rifle versus a Krag Jorgensen, they all do the same thing at the end of the day. They send a projectile out the end of the barrel. But how they do it, how they feed it, how they cock it, how they load it, all different. It's fascinating. And that was just a bonus for me being self-aware of my own self-preservation. You find things in it to enjoy it further. And you'll never take that away from me. Ever. If you're listening, alphabets. Ever. Anyway. So there's that. I'm sorry if I'm very preachy today. But these things are important to me and probably important to you. Next, this is Scott's story. He's going to love this. And I wrote it. The AFTs, I don't know why I keep saying it like that. The AFTs send Texas a reminder to all Texas FFLs that House Bill 957 is, quote, against the law. Fuck you. That's the appropriate response here. What they've done is they have reminded us that they should be banished. They have reminded us that the NFA, the National Firearms Act, and the GCA, the Gun Control Act, and the Hughes Amendment, and the Crime Bill, and every other gun control bill ever put before us is a direct infringement on your rights as a law-abiding citizen of this country. They reminded us that all of it has to go. They reminded us that we are ever so close to a Supreme Court that may finally have the balls to take on a 2A case where they are forced to admit that every gun control law, mandate, bureau, everything is illegal and unconstitutional as a direct infringement on your constitutional rights, given to you in the Bill of Rights, as ratified in 1791, required for the founding of this country. It was that important. And yet there are people in this country who are willing to shit all over it. In the name of safety. It's never about safety. It's about control. It's in the name, gun control. You're not controlling anything. You're just dictating the people. Because I guarantee you, every single person who fights against us has a security detail, and that detail is armed with guns. Imagine that. You think they're going to give that up? You show me a congressperson who goes up on stage and says, I am against guns, I think they're dangerous, I think they hurt people, and I think our country would do better without them. As of today, effective immediately, I have fired my security detail because they carry firearms. I will protect myself. You show me a congressperson with the bravery to do that, and I will personally measure you and hand tailor the straitjacket that you're going to have to wear. So yeah, I want to read this out to you a little bit because I think it's hilarious. So, let me pull up the story. Here it is. As you know, U.S. Code 18, subsection 923, requires a license to engage in the business of manufacturing or dealing in firearms, even if the firearms remain in the same state. They are correct. All firearms manufactured by a license must be properly marked. Additionally, pursuant to 27 CFR subsection 428 or 478-123, each licensee must record the type, model, caliber, gauge, and serial number of each firearm manufactured or otherwise acquired, and the date such manufacture or acquisition was made. This is the information that the FFL writes on the 4473. The required information must be recorded in the licensee's records not later than the 17th day following the date such manufacture or other acquisition was made. That part confuses me a little bit because sometimes you don't sell the gun 17 days after it's made, but whatever. In addition to possessing a license under GCA, 26 U.S.C. U.S. Code subsection 5801 requires an FFL engaged in the business of manufacturing or dealing in NFA firearms, including silencers, to pay a special occupational tax. I'm sorry, that sounds like poll tax to me, doesn't it? Furthermore, an approved ATF Form 4 and Firearms Transaction Record, Form 4473, is required prior to the disposition of an NFA firearm, which under the NFA expressly includes a silencer, to an unlicensed person. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I needed a license to have a suppressor. The approved Form 4 indicates registration of the firearm silencer to the transferee in the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record. Admission of a registry. These federal requirements apply regardless of whether the NFA firearm or silencer has crossed state lines. Did you notice that in the first two paragraphs, they laid out firearms first, and then slowly blended in the silencers, and by the end of the second paragraph, it is firearm/silencer. It's almost like watching a merger between two companies. You had GlaxoSmith and you had Klein. And then when they first merged, they were like, oh, we're all together. Now we're GlaxoSmithKline. And they mixed the two together, right? And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then slowly one bled out the other one. Now it's just GSK. And pretty soon it'll just be GlaxoSmith again. That's what they just did here. NFA for firearms, da-da-da-da-da. Now there's these things about silencers. Now all of a sudden it's NFA and silencers. It's like they stuck it all together. And they didn't even let you go down a whole page before they did it. So you could see it happening before your very eyes. Anyway. If you have questions regarding federal firearms laws and regulations, please contact your local ATF office. The ATF works closely with firearms industry and appreciates the important role the industry plays in combating violent crime. This is a cut and paste from a form letter. A list of ATF field offices' phone numbers is found at this website. So, what they have done is they sent a letter to remind FFLs that House Bill 957 has no legal bearing whatsoever in the eyes of the federal government. What does that sound like to you?
Government overreach?
Well, what does it sound like to you in terms of another industry where the exact same thing happened by the DEA? The legalization of marijuana. Now, I can't remember how many states it was. Was it 22 states?
Or it's a bunch states? Now.
Well, okay. Let's just, I'll be conservative in this estimate. Let us say 1/3 of the country. So, what, 17? 17 states in this country. I'll just use that as a rough number. Don't quote me on it because I don't follow that push. I support it, but I don't follow it to the letter. But let's just say 1/3 of the country legalized marijuana. And in the process of doing that, they did the exact same thing that the Texas Congress has done. They passed a House bill saying we are going to legalize it in our state regardless of the federal laws because we say so. I guarantee you that the first state that stepped forward and did this received a similar letter by the DEA or maybe the Attorney General that reminded them of the laws and subsections of federal law that says, you can't do that. And yet, let's just say 17. Somebody please correct me if you know the exact number. I'll read it out in the comments. But if you don't, let's just say 17. They told the federal government to go pound sand because they're making billions in tax revenue. So, the same thing, literally, could be applied to suppressors. I'm sorry. It's the same thing. Something that you deemed illegal because you don't like it on a federal level has now been superseded by a state who says, you know what, that law over there, yeah, we're not following that anymore. That's how you change laws in the country because it's easy to pass them and it's hard to revoke them. So instead of revoking a federal law, we're just going to pass a state one that says, you know what, you can do that over there, but we're going to do this over here. And as long as we keep it within our borders, you can't stop us. And I agree with it wholeheartedly. I get it. The ATF is going to send people out to these FFLs. They're going to start harassing people. They're going to try to make it as uncomfortable as possible. But at the end of the day, just like Remington paying out Sandy Hook victims, Texas is going to try to be the first state to set a precedent of, we're not going to take it. No, we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore. Because those laws aren't for us. They're for criminals. They're and ones when they stack a rap sheet. Any law we would have passed is just another one they're going to ignore anyway. So, to hell with it, essentially, right? That's all it is. To hell with it. Anyway, that's that story. I'm having fun doing this today, by the way. Moving right along. I promised myself I wasn't going to really talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. Did you guys know that the Olympics were going on? Now, I probably said that last Saturday, and it would have meant more back then because the baseball or softball, the soccer, there were certain events that had to start days before the opening ceremonies because there were so many teams that had to preliminarily play against each other so that by the time the Olympics were close to ending, they could have the medal games, like the gold medal and the silver medal and all that. So they had to start early to get all the matches in. And I wasn't really going to talk about this, but I want to hit this on two fronts. The day before opening ceremonies, 74 people tested positive for COVID-19 in Olympic Village. Olympic Village is isolated from the rest of society in Japan. Okay? It's a quarantine zone for athletes who supposedly were all clean before they took a plane to come to Tokyo for the Olympics. Okay? The only people in Olympic Village are athletes, their trainers, and maybe some Olympic, IOC staff? That's what Olympic Village is, okay? It's like their own little town. 74 tested positive before opening ceremonies even began. Now, Japan is implementing lockdowns again, and they're saying they're not going to postpone or cancel the rest of the Olympics, but the words had crossed their lips. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said, no, we're not considering it. When the cameras are off,
Unless
you're like,
they're considering it.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to say it was aliens, but it was aliens. I'm not going to say we're canceling the rest of this because our people are dropping like flies, but COVID is spreading in the Olympic Village. That's what they're saying. That's the first problem I've got.
The funniest thing is these are all athletes who quarantined themselves for 2 weeks before the games.
Right. They had to be clean to get on the plane to get over here. Or to there.
Which means at this point we're not dealing with a pandemic. We are dealing with, something that's endemic. It's everywhere.
Yeah, we're dealing with blooms. Like they're just little isolated blooms. Super spreaders.
No, I don't think they're isolated. I think they're everywhere.
So you're thinking it's like The Walking Dead. You're not. You'll turn into a walker whether you're bitten or if you die and come back anyway.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll subscribe to that. It's everywhere. I get that. The point is,
which means locking down, masks, none of it fucking matters anymore.
We have canceled Olympic events throughout world history. We had canceled them during the Second World War. I think
was the Second World War.
We probably canceled them for the First World War. Anyway, that involved a good part of the nation or a good part of the world, and they canceled the Olympics. COVID-19 in 2021, 2 years later, involves the entire world, and yet the games go on. And it's because the IOC was losing their ass financially because there are no spectators. You cannot go and watch the games live. You can watch it on TV through telepresence. That's it. Okay? So they have lost, I think it was $20 billion investing in Japan to run these games with no income because there are no fans. Of course the games are going to go on. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. We canceled it for a year. We should have canceled it completely and just say, look, this is a global event. We have to lock it down. We're a global entity. Let us set an example and say, let's just come back to this in 24. But they didn't do that, did they? And now they've got this problem on their hands. Which leads me to the story that I'm about to tell you. No fans,
COVID spreading, still an opportunity of a lifetime. Now, I jokingly tell my girlfriend that my life has been a series of bad decisions in hindsight and missed opportunities. And I had told her, I said, if my dad didn't harp on me about the Army when I was in high school, I would have been the next Jive Turkey, because I'm fascinated with submarines, and I probably would have willingly volunteered for it, join the Navy, and be a sonar operator, because I think it's fascinating. I like jets and planes too, don't get me wrong. Like, I wanted to fly a C-130. I think I like the bigs. But my dad never told me about those things. He always I was an infantryman. I worked with, he started off as an infantryman. He worked as a tunnel rat for a little bit, or he worked with tunnel rats for a little bit. He got wounded pretty severely, and he still wanted to serve, and he transitioned to be a helicopter door gunner during Vietnam. I know it sounds like a lot to a non-military person, but it's not that much for a military person. But he's got 27 air medals, and that's based on combat flight hours. And he got wounded 4 times even as a helicopter door gunner. So he's got some stories to tell. His DD-214 has got some interesting details. And he earned a Silver Star, which was kind of cool. But where am I going with this?
You lost track, didn't you?
I did lose track. Anyway, the whole point of this is we've canceled things for less globally. We should have canceled this. We really should have canceled this. The reason I brought it up...
When's the last Olympics that actually made money?
I don't know. But the reason I brought this up was Simone Biles. She's from Houston, so I have to talk about it because she's a local. And I subtitled this, Simone Biles continues to sit competitions out. Okay? Now, let me preface this with, I'm not judging her. Okay? I'm not judging her. What I'm judging is the media covering this. Oh, I think I know why I mentioned the thing earlier about service or whatever. And this is part of why I'm talking about this story. So, this is the comment I wrote to my news station here. And they stickied it because I guess they thought it was important enough to share. So this is about her withdrawing from individual events. Yesterday, this broke that she was withdrawing from the vault and the uneven bars. And the comments and the vitriol are a little disheartening because you have 2 different audiences. Some that are trying to make her out to be a hero for mental health. Others are attacking her as being a quitter. Okay? So, I think the reason I brought up the Army thing and not going for the things you want to do and you missing opportunities or whatever is because of this. The comment I wrote was, look, it might be mean to say that, quote, she's a quitter. But think of the small army of hopeful women all across the country in gymnastics who missed the opportunity of a lifetime to be in her place. I missed the opportunity of a lifetime when I was younger to be a C-130 pilot or to be a sonar operator. 2 things I would have very happily have done had someone told me about it before I kept trying to push for the Army. I should point out, I scored a 96 on the ASVAB. The recruiter told me the world was my oyster, but he had nothing I wanted. And the one thing I did want, he said there was a 3-year backlog. So I was like, well, I'll just come back. Call me if it ever opens up. I went back 3 times. By the 4th time I went in, and it was available, I failed the physical because my knees are bad. So I couldn't join the service after that. I 4F'd. Shit happens, right? Anyway, all those people are the only ones that are really let down because they didn't get a spot on the Olympic team. Think of all the trainers who trained those people and how let down they are, because they had trained highly motivated young women who would proudly and gladly represent this nation with hand on heart right now. But they couldn't, because the incumbent performer from the previous Olympics got to attend and decided to sit out of it. If the media coverage broke her mentally, then what does the endless coverage, including that picture you're seeing on your screen, that's from the media, right? From the stands. What does the endless coverage of her in the stands do for her, quote, mental well-being? It was never really about that now, was it? Send her home, let her heal, take all the cameras away from her. Let us, the people, stop criticizing her for it. Let the media stop adding the pressure on with endless coverage in the eyes of some people, or, quote, idolizing a quitter in the eyes of other people. So I hit this from both angles. If she's really mentally not there, and she can't perform at the level she wants to, and she wants to sit this out, fine. I don't agree with it, but I agree with the mental health aspect of it because I'm a psychologist. I understand what pressure's like. I understand what stress is like. But the thing is there's no audience. Where's the pressure? You're on the grandest stage, and the only thing that's watching you are cameras and your coaches and the judges. If anything, this should be less mentally taxing on you. But it's not for her. And you know what? It's your choice. I can respect it. But then why didn't you pack your bags and hop on a plane and come back to Houston, where your husband is, or maybe he came with you, and go back to living your life outside of gymnastics and get away from the very thing that you claim is mentally stressing you out? Because it wasn't about that, was it? You're trying to send a message, aren't you? I don't know. That's my take on it. If she's legitimately broken, go home. Stop covering it. Let her heal. If she's full of crap, expose right now. Just bury her now. Otherwise, I don't want to hear about it anymore. Nobody's watching these things. The ratings for the Olympics are in the toilet right now because they reneged on their rule of being a social justice warrior during introductions or the national anthem or on the podium. Like, they have relaxed all their "you can't do this" because on the first day the women's national team did it, and then they got their asses handed to them by Sweden. After they kneeled with the referees, they were in on it too. Nobody's watching it. Nobody cares about it. You should have canceled it because it's a do-nothing Olympics this year. I'm sorry. Those of you who worked so hard to be on those teams and win, America's proud of you. Unfortunately, nobody's watching. Nobody cares because everyone's too busy being cooped up at home, locked down, cabin fever, pissed off about how you could travel across the world, but they can't travel across the country. So yeah, to hell with it. Sorry, IOC, you fucked up this time. You should have just delayed it to 24. So that is that.
So to answer your question, the last Olympics that actually made money,
yep,
was Atlanta.
96?
Yep.
Wasn't that interrupted by a bombing?
Yes, it was.
Wasn't that also covered in a movie called Richard Jewell?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't he dead now?
Is he? I don't know.
I gotta look it up. I forgot if he was or not.
But you want to know who was in charge of said Olympics?
Oh yeah, he died in 2007.
Which was the launching platform for his campaign to become governor.
Mm-hmm.
None other than Massachusetts' own, well, I should say Utah's own senator, Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney, yeah. All right. So
didn't like that guy when he was the governor. Still don't like that guy.
So I got one more thing for you. And what I will do is I will have to blow up my picture a little bit. And I'm going to share with you, not this, I'm going to share with you a photo. And I'm going to preface this with the story. Here. Ron Popeil, once labeled the salesman of the century and friend of current President Joe Biden, has died. He's now spraying canned hair on the Angels. Who'd have thought a man would build an empire selling people black-dyed Christmas tree flocking in a can? What an absolute legend. All politics aside, every single one of you has probably seen an infomercial with this man in it. And he died a couple of days ago. I believe at the age of 81 or 88, something like that.
85, I think.
Okay.
Like that.
But yeah.
He was in his 80s.
The guy was a legend. I mean, let's be honest. I don't care that he was friends with Joe Biden, whatever, you know?
Honestly, if you bought anything that was advertised as seen on TV,
he probably had a hand in it.
He probably had a hand in it.
At least in the 70s and 80s to early 90s, he had a hand in it. Let's be honest, right? The guy was a legend. Like, I remember, it was called GLH, Great Looking Hair, and it was Christmas tree flocking dyed black. That's what it was. It was so obvious. And, yeah, he made that, he took off from that. And then he had the Ronco rotisserie.
I had one of those.
With the flavor injector, and it looked like something between a baster and, I don't know, like a suppository. Because I remember there was a cutout video of him sticking the flavor injector into a piece of pork and then squirting like garlic cloves and stuff into it. And it just looked so sexual somehow. Like all these big clumpy chunks of garlic just went bleh, up into this like meaty void of velvety pork. I'm gonna make this sound dirty. Anyway, that's the joke. But yeah, I remember that, and like the guy was a legend. I can't deny it. Politics are a little screwy, but you know what? He's not around anymore, so he can't vote for that retard anymore, can he? Huh. I guess. I don't know. That was the news, ladies and gentlemen. I am all out of news stories. I usually try to shoot 5 articles, share 5 articles with you. Try to pick one local. I try to pick one a little more uplifting or at least less heavy. So yeah, rest in peace, Ron Popeil. Maybe you're painting feathers on the Angels up there instead of hair, whatever. But it's still, you were cool. Thanks for the memories, Mr. Popeil, and your family too. All right, so that's all I had for topics and stories for today. And we have run nearly the 2-hour gamut, which is cool. I guess let's go ahead and start winding it down with, what are you doing the rest of the weekend? Scott?
I'm probably going to hit some gun stores, see if there's any deals on ammo. Because last weekend I did find a deal. I managed to snag a box of Hornady 545 by 39 VMAX for $35.
Oh yeah, you told me about that earlier in the week. That is a good deal.
Normally people tell me this stuff runs anywhere from like $40 to $50 a box.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a bit 20 round box.
It is a bit pricey, yeah.
And this is the 50 round box.
I got lucky I think it was about 2 years ago. It was after I bought the 4006, and I got an email once from Bud's Gun Shop, and I think they might have made an error because they were selling Spear Gold Dot Hollow Point 40 Smith & Wesson. Usually the price that they were saying was $13 or $14 for a box of 20. They were selling the 50 round boxes for $13. So I jumped on the website and I bought all of it. I just kept adding to cart until it said that they were out of stock. And I ended up with, I think it was 16 boxes. I got all of it. I bought all of it. I was trying to share it with my friends. Nobody was shooting 40 at the time, but I did share it before I finalized my order, and nobody had any. So I'm like, okay, well, it's all mine. And I was buying 50-round boxes of Spear Gold Dots for $13. Nickel-plated brass, too. I'm like, man, this is awesome. So I got that. One time I hit up, I think it was, American Outfitters or something like that. They did a sale on Cellier and Bello 303 British. 20-round boxes, $7.99. I bought all that too. I was like, yeah, give me that. Those were the days. I tried to buy a box of 20 rounds of 8mm Lebel. $49! I'm like, kiss my ass. I'll roll my own. So anyway, this weekend for me, I should probably try to film the Siamese Mauser episode for This Old Cat before I finish doing all the things I talked about doing with it. Then again, I can film it at any time. Probably going to spend most of today loading 9mm, actually. I've got all this powder, I've got a bunch of primers, and I've got a bunch of movies I can watch while I'm doing it, so I'm going to fill up the hand primer and just start processing brass. Squib was very generous. I call him Ammo Claus. He does this like once a year for me, and I'm very grateful. He gets to pick up brass at his ranges. I can't. So he collects tons of brass in all different kinds of calibers, and he dry tumbles them, sets them aside in bags by caliber, fills up a giant flat rate shipping box every year and sends me one. And I'm probably sitting on like at least 5,000 pieces of 9mm brass. So I'm going to start filling up my ammo can, because when you own a KP9, or in Scott's case, a AKV, or a KR9 like Jaime's got, you go through 9mm. You go through 9mm fast. I've got the KP9 and I built a 9mm AR. You go through 9mm super fast. So, yeah, I'll probably be processing at least. I'm gonna try. My goal is to hit 1,000 pieces of brass today. I think I can do it. I'll be doing.
What I'm gonna be doing today is.
He still is here.
Yeah, a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a mag and try to multi-cam paint it as a test run.
Yeah, I think your base coat came out good. So just use one of your mags as a canvas. Actually, you know the other thing I was going to suggest to you is, if you don't want to paint and strip to get it right, go out to your barn and grab an old fence board. That way you can practice laying the stencil out across a board, you know, the length of a rifle. That way you can sort of like master your technique for... Typically when you use rattle cans, you hold it at a certain distance and you go like one direction and then back. Like so, left to right or something like that. Or in certain cases, you want to break yourself of the habit of bringing the can towards the workpiece in a parabolic arc. So a lot of people, they hold the can like 12 inches, and as they pass across the surface, they drop down in an arc down to like 4 inches, and then as they sweep their arm away, it rises back up to 12 inches. So what ends up happening is you have feathering on the ends and a real heavy spot that could potentially run in the middle. So like having that board and your stenciling work, you can sort of practice the technique of holding it at a uniform distance and then working the layers.
That's all I didn't think about doing. I didn't think about the board part.
It's a good technique. The other thing you can do, if you have it, because you're using self-etching primer too, so it doesn't have to be metal. If you have a piece of PVC pipe, because you're gonna spray the barrel, unless you take the handguard off and wrap the whole barrel. I would do this.
I was gonna put like a foam that has like a hole in it.
Yeah.
So I put it going through the barrel because it's a floating handguard. I don't know if I should paint the barrel.
No.
I don't know.
What I would do is I would take the handguard off and then mask the whole barrel. Wrap the whole barrel from the extension into the delta ring. Wrap it all the way down to the muzzle device. Seal it, and then put the handguard back on, and then mask that entire gun with the barrel covered up, and then paint that. And then when you're done and it cures, take the handguard back off, peel all the masking off the barrel, put the handguard back on.
Yeah.
Most people who paint their guns, they don't paint the whole barrel. They leave that black and they just paint the body, the upper, the lower, and the handguard, and the stock.
Yeah, that's kind of roughly what I was thinking of, because I didn't feel comfortable painting the barrel.
Yeah.
The only thing is I want to paint the stock the same.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is you don't want to paint the barrel, because once you start shooting it and it gets hot, it's going to burn the paint, or it's going to darken.
It's going to turn pink. It's going to turn pink.
Yeah, it'll darken or it'll start to burn. So like you don't want to do that anyway. So yeah, just mask the whole barrel, put the handguard on, then paint the whole thing. Or
should I paint the pistol grip, or just leave it tan?
Leave the grip too. So just upper, lower, buffer tube, stock, and handguard. Some people won't paint the buffer tube either. So it would be upper, lower, handguard, and stock, and then you have like a black tube and a black barrel. And then your grip.
I have a tan tube.
Okay. So you're FTE. So yeah, you would have a tan tube, black barrel.
It'll kind of differentiate with the color.
Right, and it'll give it the contrast it needs, because the classic mistake is people put a camo pattern down on everything, and the gun has no definition anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, so I'll leave make sure we're going towards the handguard, it's tan, so it's like a blotchy going around. So like, oh, that makes sense. And the charging handle is going to be tan, so I'm going to leave like closer to the charging handle, a little bit tan. And then the buffer tube, so it makes it like, okay, that's tan. That's obviously tan. That's the area.
Yeah, when I built the snowflake lower, when I built the 50 Beowulf with the snowflake lower, I did it in negative. So instead of painting the body, because it had the color fill, I made everything that would have been black, I changed that. So my buffer tube, all the controls, the trigger, the forward assist, the charging handle, those were all blue, anodized. And then I left the upper, lower, SBA4 brace and the barrel black. And handguard black. So I did it the opposite. So yours will be the body is the colors and the controls are standard. I did controls crazy, body standard. It's the same idea. Lime green because you don't want to stand out. Actually, John, once upon a time, I was going to build a 300 blackout pistol, and I was going to do the controls in lime green. Because like I said, I build themed rifles. Boutique rifles, I guess. So like my 11.5 inch, what was that? Midwest Industries and Criterion barrel and pineapple grenade lower. I did the buffer tube and all the controls and the charging handle in anodized gold, because the pineapple was painted bright gold. But the 300 blackout I was going to do with green. I just never got around to it. And then when I do my 350 Legend with the PTRD sort of look, I'm going to use Boyd Stock's, what do they call it? The autumn camo laminate. So it's like black, weathered gray, and orange laminate layers. It looks really cool. And then I'll probably get an orange buffer tube and an orange controls, orange forward assist, orange charging handle on a black receiver a black receiver set. So that'll be that one. It'll be like an autumn camo type thing. But yeah, I like doing that. I mean, it's your personal expression. It's a firearm at the end of the day, but you still want it to be sort of yours. And yeah, I'll do that one in orange. The purple thing, like Smeggy was talking about, I really wanted to do one with like anodized purple stuff. And Frankie sort of beat me to it. So what I ended up doing was I just deferred it. And then I sent her all my anodized purple stuff, and then I bought her purple Lancer mags for Christmas and sent it to her. I've got the Red Lancers. By the way, I got an email the other day. Someone's got Red Lancer mags back in stock if you're in the market. Might have been Gun Mag Warehouse, but if you need them, they're out there again. So go get them if you want them.
I've seen the purples.
Yep. Yeah, the purple ones are nice. Like the shade that they used, it's like Welch's grape juice. So like it's cool. It's translucent. It's dark purple. I like it.
I may have a couple of them.
I'll build one of those eventually. I think I will. But anyway, yeah. I'll be loading 9mm. I might film the episode for the Siamese. I don't know. I've got all the graphics and stuff that I was gonna do for the Turkish Mauser, but there's nothing I need to do to that Turkish Mauser. It's like perfect. Like I don't know what to do with it. I want to do with this old Gat, but there's really nothing I need to do.
Wax the stock?
Maybe what I'll do is I'll just take it apart. We'll do it as this is how you take it apart and how to inspect it, but I don't need to do anything with it mechanically. Like I like it the way it is. But I already got the graphics for that. Like I photoshopped all the graphics that I was going to use for that video. I told people in one of my reloading videos that I was going to do the Vetterli Vitali as a this old Gat, but I still don't know how I'm going to attack fixing the horrible amateur checkering job that they did to the pistol grip. I don't know. Like I might just sand that back smooth and just restain it. Like I don't want to checker it. I don't have the confidence in my abilities to do it on top of what's already there. And if I start cutting into it and I regret it, then I have to sand off even more, which I don't want to do. So I may take that down gently and then stain it and just act like it was never there. That won't make for a good episode though, so like I probably won't this old Gat that one after all. We'll see. Hopefully I have good news later in the week, because that 9611's got like I think 8 days. Yeah, it's got 8 more days to go, so I'll just eyeball it. It's still inexpensive, and I do really want it, so we're gonna aim towards that for now. If it goes into like $500-600, I'll just go buy that K11 instead.
Wasn't there something ending in like a day or two?
Yes, there is a 2 days. Type 99 Arisaka rifle, 23rd series Kokura. I do like it. It's complete minus the aircraft sights. Like the sight is there, but the aircraft wings on either side of it are missing. It's got the detents and the controls, just the little wing parts are missing. And I found a set on eBay, but they're $100, and I'm like, I mean, I've been balking for weeks on the Turkish Mauser site in the Arabic numbers, and that's only $55, and I'm like, I really don't need it, but I kind of want it. And then as soon as I got the Siamese with its Moonspeak sights, I'm like, do I really care anymore? Not really. I don't know. I might do it. Like if one comes up cheap enough, I'll buy it, but for now, no. I still got to do the Berthier, which I don't know why I haven't started that, just laziness. And I'm going to film the last episode, I call it the last 30, of Arid tonight. Even though there's more game to play, like I'm done showcasing it because I want people to go get it. It's free. It's a free download. So like, if you missed the first part of the show, I do a series on my channel called Pwnery's Penny Arcade, and I showcase video games. Some of them are old school. I do those on Sundays called Kicking It Old School, and it's a mystery of what I play. It's like when it starts, you see what I'm playing, but I'm not going to tell you beforehand. And then I try to do like at least somewhat gun-centric games, but if not, it's just whatever games I like to play because they're indie games and they're all different and interesting. So Arid is you crash landed in a Ford Trimotor aircraft in 1931 in the Atacama Desert. Survival. Crafting, desert, caves. Apparently I've reached a point where there's ancient beings that live in caves in the mountains of the Chilean Andes, and you find them, and it's pretty scary. So I'm at that part of the game. But like, if you want to get it, just click that video. I have 4 of them so far, and I put a link in the description of those videos where you can get it for free on Steam, because it's early access. And it seems fairly comprehensive and very polished and pretty complete. And I don't think I'm going to reach the end of what they have put in early access in this next episode. So there's more past what I'm going to show you. But it's definitely worth your time if you like games like that. And then I think what I'll do is I'll film the Kicking It Old School for tomorrow. And then, honestly, I want to go back to the Long Dark for a little bit, because I think I've taken 3 weeks off. So I'll go back and do, I call them seasons, even though they're only 5 episodes, but it helps you determine, you know, the order of things. So I'll do season 3 of The Long Dark next week. And then I've got this really cool game called, I think it's called A Plague Tale. And it's a first-person role-playing, like Fallout type thing, in the 1300s during the Black Plague. And I've had it for a while, and I haven't even played it yet. I haven't even opened it yet. But I think that'll make a pretty good mini-series too. It should. It should be cool. So yeah, I got a lot of filming to do. I got a lot of ammo to make. I've got a lot of movies I want to watch. That's what I usually do. Oh, yeah. And I got to give 6 dogs a flea bath today before my hip or my back go out. Because I sit halfway in, halfway out of the bathtub, and yeah, it's very uncomfortable. It kind of hurts. So anyway, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start playing this, because we have reached 2 hours and 2 minutes. According to Chuck Woolery, we have done 2 and 2. And I'd like to thank you in the audience for watching, and my panelists for being here. And if you know anybody who might find this interesting that don't know that I exist anymore, maybe share them a link to this video or my channel. And remember, if you want to join the Discord or be maybe a panelist here, just hit me up in the email below in the description. I know it's long, so just cut and paste it. And if you're a Gun Channels member, leave your name there so I can recognize you. I'll send you a one-time use invite for permanence, and you can join us at either the community or the show. And you can catch us every day in the lobby for Working Stiffs, because that's where we are Monday through Friday. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Later, guys.